my name's Maddie McCowich. I'm an economist here at the Reserve Bank. In my current role, I analyse and assess what's happening in the Chinese economy and what implications that has for developments back here in Australia. So this involves staying on top of news coming out of China, economic data, developments in trade, government policies over there. It's very fast moving, it's very interesting. In my time at the bank, I've also spent time looking at Australia's jobs market, and I've also been in the more fast-paced world of financial markets and currencies. I went to the University of Sydney for my undergraduate degree in economics with honours, and for my master's I went to Sciences Po in Paris. I just got back from Paris earlier this year, actually, after living there for almost 3 years. So it was a great experience, both for the really interesting study that I got to do in international economic policy. I did some interesting work experience at an international economic policy organisation over there called the OECD. You might be familiar with it. Of course, there was also the cheese and the croissants. So it was a great experience. But today I'm here to discuss with you why I think there are huge benefits in studying economics. But to understand these benefits of understanding economics, we need to first look to what it actually is and what it's not. So these words on the screen are some of the words that many of us would associate with what economics is all about. And indeed, they're very important concepts in the context of the subject. Taxation, supply, banks, investment, these get thrown around a lot. You probably hear them on the news quite frequently, and they are seemingly pretty technical terms. And while at first glance, they probably appear to have not all that much to do with human behavior, when studying economics, you actually learn about how these ideas are interlinked through everyday people's decision-making. And this is why we say economics is a study of human behavior. So for instance, if we take the word saving, we don't really care about how much savings there are in the economy just for the sake of it. To get a picture of what's happening in the economy, we need to understand the motivation behind the decision to save. So understanding why are people actually saving? Are people saving because they're pessimistic or worried about the future? Or is it that they're optimistic about the future and they're saving to buy a house or start a new business? The motivations behind the decision to save will then help us understand whether we expect, say, investment to go up as a result or prices to increase, and really help us understand how savings will interact with the other concepts that we see here on the screen. So this is why economics is indeed a social science. It's much more than just the study of how money moves around the economy. It's the why that makes it such an interesting and useful subject to study. So why is economics a useful subject to study in high school or university? And what types of things would you learn if you studied economics? Economics can give you a framework to understand the world around you. This framework involves understanding what particular assumptions are being made in a given argument, what trade-offs are being made when, say, there's a new government policy or a business proposal is announced. And this can help you make better business decisions throughout your career, or simply just understand and critically evaluate what's going on in the world around you and what ideas are out there. So as an example, say in the paper, you might read about someone advocating for an increase in the minimum wage. And then you turn the page and there's another article saying that the minimum wage is too high. Studying economics will really help give you the tools and the understanding to be able to understand and possibly even poke holes in both arguments and help you come up with your own informed opinion about these particular matters. You'll understand the assumptions underlying both arguments, the costs and benefits of each proposal. So overall, I think you really do build a much more nuanced and considered perspective by studying economics. And in a similar vein, economics will give you the grounding to actually not just understand the problems that are happening in the world, but to help solve them and make more well-informed decisions. So for instance, many business and policy decisions involve weighing up the costs and the benefits of different alternatives, which economics can teach you to do in a systematic way. Economics can help you design incentive systems to achieve the outcomes that you want. For instance, such as a scheme to encourage businesses to switch to renewable energy, or designing a policy to encourage young people to save more for retirement. In a lot of fields, policymakers look to economists to help devise or evaluate a particular policy proposal. What I really love about my current role as an economist is how it allows me to apply economic concepts and theories to understand timely, real-world questions that appear in the news every single day. So my grounding in economics gives me the tools and the context with which to tackle issues as they arrive day to day regarding the Chinese economy. Economics also allows you to study a broad variety of topics that can align with all sorts of areas of interest. So for instance, if you're really interested in finance, and of course, economics could be right up your alley, but there are many options beyond this. If your passion is the environment, then an understanding of economics can give you an understanding of how interconnected the environment and the economy are. It can help you understand how policymakers can design tools to encourage a transition to greener economic development, for example. For me, I really love international affairs, history, and politics, and having a grounding in economics has really been key to understanding the causes of many historical and political events throughout time. If you're interested in psychology, then behavioral economics is a field that looks at how individuals and groups think and how in turn they make decisions. And this can have some really interesting applications. For instance, behavioral economists might try to design incentives to encourage people to donate blood or donate to charity. So really interesting stuff there. If you love maths, then economics is your chance to apply mathematical tools to understanding real world problems. Same goes if you love programming or coding or gathering and playing with data. So economics is a useful area of study, not just due to the interesting and varied content that you'll learn, but because of the skills that it can afford you that you can use throughout your life, both in your career and in your personal decision making. For example, economics will help you build analytical skills. By this, I mean reasoning, problem solving, critical thinking skills. And this is because a key part of what economics is understanding trade-offs. So weighing up between costs and benefits and making better choices. Analyzing data to make informed decisions is also a key part of what economists do. Economics can also give you transferable skills that you can use in many different career paths. The study of economics is very broad and it's complementary to many other subject areas, as I've mentioned. So for this reason, people who have studied economics can be found working in a whole range of industries, not just finance or government. You can find economists in health, the environment sector, public policy, journalism, NGOs, tech, data science, the community sector, energy, commodities, the list goes on. And in fact, people who have studied economics go on to one of the most diverse sets of jobs out of all the potential areas of study at university. So there's so many options. It's very versatile. It's a generalist area of study, maybe despite a perception that it's a bit niche. And the types of skills that you can develop when studying economics are valued in the labour market. So looking across a variety of different disciplines, those who study economics end up in pretty well-paid jobs on average. And this just shows how the analytical skills you develop when studying economics are really valuable and sought after by employers.